officially, Brian Daboll announced that Jaxson Dart will be starting the rest of the year. It had been announced that he would be starting in week 4, or Jaxson Dart over Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. But now he's going to be the official starter for the rest of the year. So, Stan, you are from the New York area, so that's why we brought you in. Fan of the Jets. They play in the same building as the Giants. What is your initial reaction to this?
Yeah, I mean, I've been excited to see this. We talked about this about a week and a half ago. I thought this was coming against the Saints. That would have been a great matchup for a young quarterback to step into, where you don't expect the other team to put up that many points, and the defense isn't, this impenetrable force. Now, it is going to be a tougher game against the Chargers, mainly because the other side of the ball, that offense is going to keep the Chargers in the game, no matter how much Jaxson Dart is doing here. But from what I expect from Dart in week 1 is to keep the Giants within striking range, which is something that I think Daboll and the coaching staff of the Giants don't think with Russ. Now, I liked the Russ experiment, and this is something maybe Chus can speak more to. I do think he looked better as a player last year. Now, do I think last year's version of Russ would have the Giants with a win or two at this point of the season? I don't know if he would have made a difference, really, having last year's version. And that's why I'm happy to move on from Dart.
Or move on to Dart.
Sorry, move on to Dart.
So, Chus, what are your thoughts on Jaxson Dart? Ole Miss quarterback coming in early on. They traded up to get this guy. We've talked about him since the draft. What are your initial thoughts on Jaxson Dart?
Yeah, so from the beginning, from the get-go, I've always said that I was really high on Jaxson Dart in this quarterback class that kind of had some question marks when it came to a lot of these quarterbacks. Cam Ward obviously getting taken first overall. Would he be considered a generational talent on the same level as somebody like a Joe Burrow getting taken first overall a couple years ago? Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. But there was a lot of question marks with that, along with Shedeur Sanders. But Jaxson Dart, a lot of people expected to fall into the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds. The Giants saw something in him, and sure enough, he ended up getting drafted by them. I really like him. I thought he looked very good with Ole Miss, and especially last season. And I felt that whenever he got drafted by the Giants, that it could be genuinely like a new hope, as you could call it, for the New York Giants, who haven't really had that quarterback one since Daniel Jones has just been kind of existent. Like he just kind of plays the games. He can win sometimes, but at other times he just didn't win. And it's interesting to see how well he does in Indianapolis, but he just could not produce with the New York Giants. Now, going into week 4 with Jaxson Dart now starting, I find it very fascinating just because the big topic of discussion was, although he didn't play real good this past week, Russell Wilson, in week 3, week 2 was a bloodbath with the Dallas Cowboys. He threw for over 400 passing yards, which isn't something that we saw really with the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. And arguably so far this season, I would say that Russell Wilson had a better year last season with the Steelers, despite having a little bit of a, I don't know if you want to call it a meltdown or like a fall off or whatever you want to call it. But by the end of the season with the Steelers, we had finished way below standards for what we thought we were going to get, finishing once again 10-7, right in that 9-8, 10-7 range, when a lot of people expected us to possibly win the division at 11-6 or even 12-5. So for me, I'm excited for Jaxson Dart to come in. I don't know how Russell Wilson's going to react. I know he's he's a big team player, so I think he'll be kind of okay with whatever role they put him into. I don't really think he would like to be traded per se, nor do I know how many teams would really want that, like an older quarterback, unless they're just kind of using him to get them through the season. But with Jaxson Dart, the only fear that I have is, since it is week 4, you're going up against the Chargers, who are a pretty good team. It may be kind of tough. And the one thing that I'm always very much concerned about is when the team isn't playing too well per se, and the energy is kind of shifting one way or another. The biggest concern is, would this game, if he doesn't win or doesn't look well, stunt his development going forward, or give him cold feet, or make him think that he's doing something wrong, and his confidence kind of goes down, because there's always been that argument with Steelers fans that that might have been what happened to Kenny Pickett early on, which is why we never saw the fullest potential of Kenny Pickett. Now, granted, there was a lot of issues with Kenny Pickett, obviously having small hands. He didn't have the greatest first couple of years at Pitt, but he had a great fifth year. Now his defense was also very, very good. His offensive line was very, very good. I mean, Kalijah Kancey is a first-round pick. He played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or he's currently playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You have Jordan Addison, who now plays for the Vikings. He was the wide receiver that Kenny Pickett was throwing to. I mean, this team was just star-studded all around. So there was a lot of pieces with Kenny Pickett. So the argument is was Kenny Pickett ever that good, or was his growth stunted because he was just kind of thrown in to a scheme in which it was kind of blowing up in their face? So, but yeah, I'm excited to see how Dart does this weekend.
Yeah, so Jaxson Dart, he led the SEC in 2024 in both completion percentage and yards. He had 69.3% completion percentage and 4,279 yards. He's someone I really liked in the draft. He wasn't necessarily a person I thought was worth trading up for. I thought the Steelers might take him, but Giants decided he was worth trading up for. They went after their guy, and now Brian Daboll, who I don't know if he's on the hot seat or not. Arguably, he should be. Has made the decision to start this young man early on in the season against the Chargers, who are undefeated right now. And Stan, you alluded to it when you were speaking. The Saints was the week you thought that they should start. That's next week. But still, even so, they have Chargers, Saints, Eagles, Broncos, Eagles is their schedule. So they have a tough schedule coming up for a rookie to kind of, be getting thrown into. Now, Chus mentioned Cam Ward. And I've been watching Cam Ward a bit, and I don't think the box score does him justice. He actually looks really good. His arm is there. His throws are there. Does he make mistakes? Yes. He's a rookie. But I think overall his form is there, and the Tennessee Titans should be very happy with him. And I think the Tennessee Titans would be a much better team if they still had A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry on them. And that probably, that sounds obvious. But what I'm saying is I think the Tennessee Titans probably need to get some guys around Cam Ward quickly. And whether that's done through free agency or the draft, I think they have a very talented guy, and it's not really being shown because he doesn't. His wide receiver one is Calvin Ridley. He's not got his running back one is Tony Pollard. We're not talking about like a star-studded offense to really help him out. I think his O-line, while it needs improved and they've had some injuries, I think that's okay. Maybe add a few more guys to that. But Jaxson Dart, I think, is coming into a much better situation than what Cam Ward is. I mean, he's got Malik Neighbors as his wide receiver one. You got Theo Johnson, who has some potential as a tight end. He's not, going to be a marquee guy, but, he can help. And then that running back room, I know that I always get his name mixed up.
Tracy?
Troy Tracy. Yes. Thank you. Tyrone Tracy. See, told you I was going to mess it up. Anyway, Tyrone Tracy. I know he's injured, but you still have Devin Singletary. You got my boy Scattaboo down there who runs like a maniac. I think Jaxson Dart is coming into a much better situation than what Cam Ward is. He's coming into a much better situation than Tyler Shuck is in New Orleans, who Tyler Shuck was taken, I believe, third quarterback off the board in the second round, and he's been sitting behind Spencer Rattler this whole time. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Jaxson Dart come in and he just lights it up and plays a much better version of football that we see from a rookie quarterback. And he could even win Rookie of the Year despite not starting week one. There's still the chance for that because I don't think there's anyone who's really running away with that right now on the offensive side of the ball. Some people would probably argue Emeka Egbuka, if anyone, but I think that Jaxson Dart could still probably catch up to him. Stan, I know you're not a Brian Daboll fan. You've been vocal about that. What are your kind of views around this and Jaxson Dart? Like, how does this relationship work? Does Brian Daboll, is he on the hot seat? Is this a desperation move? Where are we at?
Well, yes to everything. I think. I mean, yeah, I think he's definitely on the hot seat. If you're the Giants right now and you got this young quarterback in Jaxson Dart, my fear as a half Giants fan is that Jaxson Dart's going to play well enough to keep Daboll around, and then the coaching staff is going to run into the same issues they've run into time and time again. And yes, quarterback play in many ways has held them back, but we've seen Daniel Jones look so much better on a different team, and we've seen him look great on the Giants too. I think at this point in time, I just don't trust him as an in-game head coach. I don't think he makes the right decisions. That's where my issues with Daboll stem from. So I do believe he should be on the hot seat. And just to be fair, I think I should give an example of what I need to see from him this year in order, for him not to be on the hot seat come the end of the year. And one thing is in-game decisions has to improve. I need to see him use timeouts better. And towards the end of games, when you have that lead, that Cowboys game from, what was it now, 2 weeks ago, I think that was a game that was very winnable. He had probably the best game Russ has given in the last 2.5 years, something like that. Chus, am I right on that? Or yeah, it was like
yeah, I would say like statistically speaking, I mean, we've had 400-yard games, like offensive games under Russell Wilson, but I don't think we've ever had I'm almost positive he's never even gotten close to 400 yards passing with the Steelers. But let me go double check that but yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right.
I mean, and just in terms of how he looked, because going to Steubenville, I watched a lot of Steelers game, and this year and in the last couple of years, I've watched a lot of Giants games. Just in terms of how he looked, that was one of the best looks I've seen from Russ since before that Sean Payton pairing. So when I'm looking at the Giants there, if you can't find a way to win that game as Daboll with some pretty talented guys on defense. Yeah, they're not an amazing defense, but you should be able to get, Dak Prescott, and you should be able to get into that backfield a lot quicker, a lot better. You should be able to prevent the rushing game from exploding, right? You should be able to at least keep the explosive plays down on defense. And we haven't seen that from Daboll this year. We haven't seen that in the last couple of years. So to me, I need to see him manage those games when you do have Jaxson Dart step up very well. Very well. I need to see him stay in those games and win those games.
And, Chus has talked about this with the quarterback carousel, on your own team. And I feel like the Giants are the most vulnerable to that this season. They have Jaxson Dart. They have Russell Wilson. They have Jameis Winston. Do you have any fear that if Jaxson Dart, say, comes in, maybe he comes in against the Chargers and looks really good, comes in against the Saints and looks really good, but then, they get to that gauntlet that I talked about earlier, Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, and he doesn't look good. He struggles. He throws a bunch of interceptions. They pull him and they throw in, Russell Wilson again. Do you think that Brian Daboll would do that, or do you think he's going to stick to his word? Jaxson Dart is the guy for the rest of the season.
So if let's say he's able to win the next 2 games, I think that would probably secure him his job. It might be a situation where maybe he has a minor injury that they decide to play it safe for and let one of the other quarterbacks step in. That's definitely I think a realistic option there. But if you can win the next 2 games and you're a coach looking at this young quarterback who will not likely have your job next year if you don't at least get a winning record, I think that's kind of the bare minimum for him. I would probably stick with Dart. I don't see why you'd move on from him so quickly if he's able to win the next 2. Without that, though, I mean, it's a tough question, and I don't think there's a wrong answer per se for Daboll there.
Okay, Chus, your thoughts?
Oh, I was going to say, so weirdly enough, I know we're going back on the stats. I actually forgot about the Steelers-Bengals game from December 1st, 2024. Steelers won 44-38 over the Cincinnati Bengals, but Russell Wilson threw 414 yards in that game. So we have seen it before, I guess, but not he definitely had I would say he had very good stats last year too. But yeah, I was just going back to look at the 400-yard game. I apologize, Josh. I know that 400 yards and high-powered offenses are – anyway.
I think one note on that is that Russ, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about this in a second. He still has that deep ball ability, and even at this age, he gets the footing right when he gets the opportunity there. And I think if he does get traded, there's definitely teams where he'll have receivers who can give him those opportunities. When he gets those, he knows how to take advantage of them.